Everyone, welcome again. So, to begin my speech, let me ask you these questions. How do we strengthen inclusive educations in the Philippines? So, once again, good day to our respected policymakers, school leaders, fellow educators, and dear parents if you are listening. So, I will speak in front of you today as I speak before you, not only as an educator, but as someone who witnesses the daily realities of inclusive educations in our country, in the Philippines. While we celebrate the passage of the Republic Act number 11650, also known as the Inclusive Education Act of 2022, we must honestly confront the gap between policy and practice. So the law guarantees learners with disabilities the right to quality education, inclusive education. However, recent findings from the Second Congressional Commission on Education reveal a sobering reality. Okay, so millions of Filipino children with disabilities remain out of school, and among those enrolled, many lack access to proper assessment, trained SPED teachers, assistive devices or technologies, and individualized interventions. So the intention of the law is powerful, but however, the implementations remains uneven. So, in regions such as in CAR or in Cordillera Administrative Region, reports highlight the shortages of SPED teachers, okay, and then also the limited facilities and under-resourced inclusive learning resource centers. So, without multidisciplinary teams such as the therapist, the psychologist, the trained interventionist specialists, okay, school struggles to fully support learners with special needs or diverse needs. So teachers, especially in general education classrooms, are often willing but underprepared. So we have a recent study conducted at Argao National High School because they found out that while non-SPED teachers held generally positive attitudes towards inclusion, they cited limited training, okay, insufficient materials, and lack of administrative support as major barriers to effective implementations of inclusive education. But beyond resources, we must also address something more difficult, okay? Social acceptance. Okay, some schools quietly discourage enrollment of children with disabilities due to fear of lacking capacity. Some parents, due to stigma or denial, hesitate to seek assessment or intervention for the children. So this creates a cycle where children are either underserved or excluded entirely. So to policymakers, I respectfully say as a teacher myself, okay, funding must match the promise of the law. Okay, operationalizing inclusive learning resource centers, expanding SPED plantilla positions, and investigating teachers' upskilling must be excuse me, must become an urgent priorities. And to school administrators, inclusion must be embedded in school culture, not treated as an optional program. Support systems, peer mentoring, and collaborative planning between SPED and general education teachers come together. No, so teachers. Including myself, inclusive education, I know it's challenging, yes, but it's also a transformative. With proper support and training, classroom can become spaces where diversity is not a burden but a strength. So, and for the parents, so early intervention and acceptance, it opened the doors. Okay, when we acknowledge our children's needs, we empower them rather than limit them. Okay, so inclusive education is not merely about placing a child with disabilities inside a regular classroom. It is about ensuring supported, valued, and given equitable opportunities to succeed to all. Okay, if you fail to provide materials, training, and acceptance, inclusions become symbolic rather than a substantive. Okay, so the future of inclusive education in the Philippines depends on collective accountability. The policymakers, the administrators, the government, etc. So policy must translate into practice. So it's not just about policy plans, but we must also put that into execution, implementations, or practice. So resources must reach classrooms, and communities must shift from tolerance to true acceptance. Okay, because when we strengthen inclusive education, we are not only helping our children with disabilities, but we are strengthening our education system and our nation as a whole. So thank you for listening. That is all about strengthening our inclusive education in the Philippines.